Hi everyone, my name is Erica Strother. I'm the Community Specialist here at ICMI, and I am back today with another industry expert interview. And today I'm actually joined by Mitchel Forney over at Voiance. How are you today, Mitchel?
Hey, I'm doing well. How y'all doing?
Doing great. Thanks for joining us today. It's great to have you here. So I wanted to spend a few minutes today talking to you about the customer experience and multi-language support and kind of that impact on the customer experience. But
Okay.
before we get going, we'll start off with kind of a fun question. So if you don't mind, just tell me one fun fact about yourself and then tell me a little bit about your role at Voyance.
Oh, okay. Fun fact about myself. Well, gosh, I didn't think I was a very fun person until you asked me this, and I thought of so many things. I'm really, really into the Myers-Briggs, and on the Myers-Briggs, I test as an INFJ, and that can be pretty rare for guys, I guess. So I guess I don't know if it's not very fun. It's more like an interesting tidbit, I guess. But I'm the director of marketing at Voyance, and I actually just got promoted. So I'm actually I think the youngest director in company history. I'll have to double check that. I don't know. I thought that was actually probably more fun than anything about me otherwise. But yeah, what
Super
next?
cool. I'm impressed that you know your Myers-Briggs. I always seem to forget mine. I think it's ENFP, but I always seem to forget. And congrats on the promotion also as well.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Yeah. So, Mitchel, you are speaking in a webinar that we're hosting on Thursday, July the 10th, and I'm pretty excited about this webinar. During this presentation, we're basically going to be sharing some secrets to success from some of our award winners this year at the Global Contact Center Awards, which Voyance actually sponsored.
We did.
We're sharing all sorts of advice on voice of the customer and the customer experience. So just give us a little bit of a kind of teaser sneak peek. Why is this a must-attend webinar for contact center leaders?
Okay. Well, I happen to be the one that got to introduce Oppenheimer Funds when they won Best Large Contact Center. So they're a tremendously well-run organization. There's a lot to learn from there. And we know Wells Fargo is a multi-year, over and over again. They seem to win at least something every year right at the awards. So very good people to speak with and to learn from. I know we all go to these conferences and we like to network with people, and we may not always meet those people who have those really great stories that are inspiring, help us to know how to do things better. And these are people definitely you get to spend some more intimate time with. They're going to be just speaking to you, the larger audience, I guess, but to hear them for an extended period of time talking about what they do, you just don't get that kind of insight into somebody else's organization all that often, so it's a really worthwhile opportunity.
Agreed, and we're really excited about this one. So if you're watching this and you haven't already registered, I encourage you to do so. I'll share a link at the bottom of this video, actually. Don't want to give too much away, but I know, Mitchel, that you're going to be speaking a little bit about what customers really want and maybe how providing support in their native language is part of what they want. So could you just share a little bit of your take on, how important is multilingual support in the customer experience? Does it really have that big of an impact?
Oh, okay. That's a really great question. It's probably going to depend on the organization, although I think we can say 100% that contact centers that do provide English support, it's very important that they're actually speaking English, right? We test for that. We train for that generally as contact centers. We filter, to ensure people have sufficient language skills to handle calls appropriately, right? And I think the same is true when you do have, customers who speak a language other than English primarily. And we know that's around 20% of the United States speaks a language other than English at home. And about 10% of the United States can't really speak English at all, at least to transact over the phone. So in that way, multilingual support is very important because we do like being serviced in the language that we really like. It's a language that we trust. We're more likely to make purchasing decisions speaking our native language, and we see that contact centers, about half of them already have multilingual support programs, and the primary motivators for them to do so is not only customer satisfaction, but also agent productivity. If you have a lot of people that call in and they're asking for a certain language support, and you have it only in limited amounts, or you don't have it at all, well, then it's just bogging down on the agent's time because they have people who are calling in, and it's not going to stop them from calling in to not support the language. So you have frustrated agents, so multilingual support is one way to make your agents happier and more productive.
Definitely. And I know that we spent a lot of time earlier this year and late last year on a research project with you guys about the impact of multi-language support on the customer experience. And we found that a lot of contact centers are lagging behind. And you just said 50% offer multi-language support, but that means the other half don't. So why do you think so many contact centers are lagging behind?
Well, we actually did a blog post that sort of touched on this topic a little bit earlier this year, and it's not just to say contact centers. I'd say you'd look at the contact centers that do have multilingual support. They're going to be larger contact centers where they have a broad, collection of like the consumer market throughout the United States. And I think we're seeing that change, and more contact centers adopt multilingual support because whereas, we had these very tight-knit immigrant areas within the United States, primarily, urban centers, think New York City. Well, the trend now is that immigrants are moving out into the suburbs. The suburbs, in some ways, are less expensive than the urban environments, with all the gentrification that's going on in like New York City, San Francisco, things like that. So all of a sudden you have these people who aren't normally kept within the city, and instead of going to their local store, which may not be very local in a suburb, it's kind of spread out, they may be starting to call in more often now. So we're seeing there's an increasing need. We'll see contact centers continue to adopt it. I think what's prevented them from adopting it is if it's new to them, they don't know how to support it cost efficiently at least, so they're looking at free tools like maybe Google Translate, or they're just trying to scrounge together somebody who might be bilingual, or they're just putting off to a later date. But there are services out there, shameless plug, like over-the-phone interpretation, where they just pay per minute, and it's really easy. It's not a technological install. It's just a conference call.
Great. Well, you just mentioned cost, and you mentioned interpretation services, and hard to believe, but we're already getting to the midpoint of 2014 here, which means that I know where did the first half of the year go? But
I have no clue.
So a lot of people are already starting to plan budgets for 2015. Yeah. So do you have any advice for leaders in the contact center who maybe want to explore adding interpretation services in 2015? How can they get the executive approval for that in the budget next year?
Oh, okay. Well, I could just shamelessly plug here, but in terms of getting executive approval, I think it's a whole other thing. I think the demographics are definitely there. So being able to simply point at the demographic information, and as well if you just have, any indication at all that you're getting these calls and it's creating any kind of problem for your agents. I think that's the biggest case maker right there. And then you can also look at ICMI, we did work together, and you did put out a very big report. It's about 45 pages long, $200 on ICMI.com. But there's also a smaller white paper. It's about 15 pages, and it's free. And you can sign up and you can take a look at that. But it has most of the data that I think you'd really want. It talks about some of the demographics in the United States. It talks about how over-the-phone interpretive services improve agent productivity, and about 75% of respondents said that they saw improvements to various agent KPIs like first call resolution, average handle time, because they're not stuck on the phone trying to manage a very difficult to manage conversation without a language skill, and other things like that, various different KPIs. And they also saw that there are improvements to CSAT. So whether you're just using one bilingual agent, we saw that there's improvements to CSAT scores using an interpretation service over bilingual agents. We also saw that just any kind of multilingual support tends to have a positive impact, as you can imagine, on customer satisfaction. So that's all there, ICMI.com. It's Press 1 for English is the title of the white paper, and definitely worth it. I think that alone could justify it.
Agree. I highly recommend checking both of those publications out. Lots of great advice to pass on throughout the organization. But one last thing, do you have any advice for choosing the right partner if you're looking for someone to provide interpretation services?
Choosing the right partner. Again, I could be just a shill here, but I'm going to not. I would say, the biggest things we see with contact centers, important things for them when they're making a decision about this: 1, cost; 2, quality; 3, I'd probably say that's tied with speed. and security, so information security. So, who are the actual people taking these calls? And there's a tendency sometimes to think, well, this is 1% of my call volume, or, small number. It's not a very big thing. It may not even be a big part of your budget. And it's easy to dismiss that and say, let's just get something in place. And I would just say we see people most satisfied when they take some time and do some due diligence. We just had a contingent of 20-some people from a banking organization come out to our contact center facility in Phoenix to audit it for security, and definitely had nothing to do with the fact that it was wintertime when they came out, and our contact center's in Scottsdale. I don't really know. I'm kidding. But they brought a lot of people out, and it was definitely worth investigating for them. So if the big organizations really like to investigate this thing, it's probably pretty important that you do some due diligence as well, regardless of the size of your organization, your contact center, or your call volume.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great advice, and I'm sure that you have much more to share again on July 10th. So just want to thank you for your time today. As I said earlier, I'm really excited about the upcoming webinar. There's something for everyone out there. We're going to talk about the most important customer experience metrics, really capturing the voice of the customer, designing customer surveys, what customers really want, how to hire the right customer experience team. So it's going to be an action-packed hour full of information to arm your organization to provide the best possible customer experience. So hope that you'll join ICMI. Mitchel from Voiance is going to be there. We've got execs from Oppenheimer Funds, Wells Fargo, MindBody. So really great lineup, and looking forward to that. And once again, Mitchel, just thanks for sharing this information with us today and taking time to chat. Thanks so much. And just keep in mind for the webinar that's coming up, it'll be mostly Oppenheimer Funds and Wells Fargo talking, right? All right, Mitchel. Well, have a great afternoon, and I'll talk to you soon. All right. Talk to you soon, Z. Bye-bye.